Shana Tova. Shana Tova to our participants in the room and to our congregation on YouTube that are streaming. Thank you so much for being here. 2021, we made it to this next hybrid, beautiful, strange year that we are in. So I have a confession. I'm going to start really early with my confessions. My confession this year is that for years, probably 10 or 12, maybe even 15, I didn't like Erev Rosh Hashanah services. It was too short. It was too light. I'd spent the month preparing my soul, and then we got to Erev Rosh Hashanah, and it was this light, sweet apples and honey, short, soft landing into the holidays, and I was ready for pounding my chest. And then I realized that that's not the purpose of this night, right? The purpose of this night is to be just a gentle entrance into the holidays. We're not ready for Yom Kippur, or else we would be there. So it's supposed to be light. It's supposed to feel good, to just remind us of the melodies, to get us into the spirit, to remember that it's the new year. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Establish our themes, establish our music, just put on our high holiday clothing, our spiritual clothing, and get ourselves ready. This holiday season, we'll have Lisa Zeiler on the bima, and Lital Abrahams is going to be doing a whole bunch of singing. Irene Jacobson, you can't see her much, but she's on the piano. You'll see her hands a bit if you're on the screen. So to get us going, this is a poem by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt called Anew. She wrote it for this year. Here's the thing. The year begins anew even in the worst of times. The leaves will turn and fall, and then they'll grow again. And sometimes we're afraid and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. Uncertainty is a bear. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere we may and work to fix what brokenness we find. The good news is we're not alone in this. We'll help each other hope when light seems dim and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work that we can do. We who survive will help each other heal. So to bring up those sparks of light, Jen Leeds, Rob Hess, I'm going to invite them to come and light our candles. You can light, I'll sing. Good combination, you can sing with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov. And then because we made it to this day, we'll say the Shechianu together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Thank you so much. We begin our service after candles with Henani. Henani that comes back as a refrain tomorrow morning in our Torah reading that we'll hear over and over again. It's our statement of how we are present in our tradition despite everything, no matter what is going on. We say, Henani, I am brave enough and courageous enough to be here in this moment no matter what is happening in my life. Henani by Rabbi Karen Kadar. Henani, I am here. I stand before the ark and the eternal scrolls of our people dressed in white light. I stand ready to enter into the holy days, to offer prayers that urge me to live better, kinder, ever present to the pain of others, to become a compassionate vessel, trustworthy, holding hope in the midst of despair. Henani, I am here. I stand resilient, determined, though I have been taken down, forced to live a different way. The rhythm of life has been altered. That is saying something. Time unfolds and morphs, expands and stands still. I have been called to be present, to pay attention. Hear my plea, O God. Grant me the faith, courage, and wisdom to enter into cheshbon nefesh, the fragility and humility of self-examination. Hineni, I am here. I am here. May this fractured heart soften and hold love and compassion in a way it never has before. Hineni, I am here. We're on page 17. Hineni, hey ani amimas, nireshet v'nifchetet mipachad, nireshet v'nifchetet mipachad, yoshev tehilot Yisrael. Bati לעמוד ולכנן לפניך ולכנן לפניך על עמך ישראל אשר אף על פי שאיני חדאית והגונה לכך. על כן נבקשך, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל, ואלוהי לאה. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, אלוהי ישראל. שדי היום ונורא, היה נא מצליח דרכי, דרכי, אשר אנוכי הולכת לעמוד ולבקש רחמים עליי. Blessed are you, the one who hears prayer. And on page 19, it's our official moment of announcement of the year. In case you didn't know what year it is, we tell you now. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu yehi ratzon shenizkeh levirchotecha bishnat chameshet alafim u'shva me'ot shmonim v'shtayim. Elohei Olam, our God and God of our ancestors, may we please know your blessings in the year 5782. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. Please rise. Seated. You should always be able to tell the holiday by the melody, right? Shabbat should not sound like the high holidays, and that first glimpse should feel like, oh, all the cells in your body should feel like, oh yeah. Whew, that means it's the high holiday season. On page 23 at the bottom, I'd love to invite Madeline Bronstone up to share a reading. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. The quickening of the moon calls to us to return, and we gather, seam dwellers on the edge of the earth. As the sun lowers itself into the sea, introspection rises. As silver cracks the heart of the firmament, the vast blackness, an invitation to write ourselves anew. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamarav Avarim, blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dark.
Thank you. And turning to page 24, Ahavat Olam. We sing about all this love that we cultivate every Shabbat, hopefully every day, whenever we take out the Torah, certainly on this season. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu Shachmeinu uvekumenu Nasiya bechukecha Lenismach bedivrei Toratecha Uvemitzvot Ve'ahavta, the text from Torah in which we chant about the ways that we channel love back up to the heavens, is on page 28. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvalechtecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אדוני Elohechem emet. Page 34, we turn to Micha Mocha. This melody that keeps repeating, we had it for Baruch Hu, we have it for Micha Mocha, right? It's supposed to get into our bones. Our song of the sea. Micha Mocha ba'edim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh, Da Adonai et Yaakov, ugelo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Gad Yisrael. And as a kavanah, an introduction to our Hashkivenu, to this piece of liturgy, this prayer that we recite every single night. You're supposed to do it before you go to bed every night. And it's born out of the idea that darkness can be scary. And it can be a time that a lot of fears come out. So we recite the Hashkivenu asking for just an extra level of protection and peace and love. So as an intention before that, on page 37, Rosh Hashanah in the Pines, Allison Negrin and Jennifer Klatsky are going to read for us.
Darkness settles slowly across the horizon. The new year rises before us, its fragile moon awaiting our embrace.
Heaven and earth entwine in their annual dance of recreation. A fissure appears in the firmament tonight, an entranceway into new beginnings.
Out beyond the swales, the sea expands and contracts, keeping time to the thrumming of the universe.
Under this Rosh Hashanah sky, the path before us is uncertain. All we can do is hold each other tight as we make our way home.
Either way. Tashkivenu is on page 36. This is an Italian melody. It's called Hashkivenu Lavorno. On page 40, we prepare to enter into our first tefillah, our first amidah, the first moment of our approach to ourselves, to tshuva, to holiness, to the eternal of this entire season. Please rise on page 40, Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadol v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah b'alamad v'rach erutei v'yamelich malechutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayed kol beit Yisrael b'agala u'v'yom ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה שמי קודשה ברכו לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Now is the time, says the poet Hafiz, to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you can finally live with veracity and love. Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. That this is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. On 42, Adonai Svatai, we enter into the amidah. We'll do the first two blessings, 2+ out loud together, and then we'll go into silence. Whatever that means to you, if you like to look through the text and see all the words in English or in Hebrew that are going to be accompanying you through this time, beautiful. If this you want to close your machzor and just see where you're at as you begin this season, that's beautiful too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor veHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקוני הכל
וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים רחמים, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע.
Whenever you're finished with your amidah, you can have a seat, take as long as you want.
Say Adonai Eloheinu ve'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel. תמיד עבודת ישראל. ישראל עמך. קרוב קרוב עיני לבבתך תכוננו. שפע
So when Rabbi Gutterman was our rabbi, she started a tradition called My CBT, in which we invite congregants to share a little snapshot of what makes this their home. So we're going to have one in each of our services, and our first My CBT is Jeff Weil.
My name is Jeffrey Weil, and this is my CBT. About 25 years before my first child was born, I interviewed different synagogues in Berkeley, Oakland, Lafayette, and Walnut Creek. And after each of the services, I would hang out in the social hall. Other than B'nai Tikva, no one would come up to me to say hello. But at B'nai Tikva, people came up, introduced themselves, were most welcoming, so I joined. I've been a once-in-a-while congregant, going to Shir Joy sometimes, a few galas, and attending High Holy Days, but that was it. It is hard to believe that there were actually a few silver linings from COVID-19, but when everything shut down at B'nai Tikva due to the pandemic, CBT sprang into action. Services were on Zoom. and there's no need to dress up or drive, so I started attending more often. Then there were many virtual programs. There was lunch and learns, Havdalah yoga, meditation, the classes with Rabbi Asher and others, the adult trope class, kids getting the B'nai Mitzvah virtually, and understand there's graduates from the adult trope class that'll be chanting during these high holy days. Just a few months ago, Rabbi Shabon officiated at my new wife, Lana and I's wedding. And one of our favorite programs that was during the COVID was the Zoom and Zen. Every Thursday at 10 a.m. for 45 minutes. Lana's a teacher, she didn't have the flexibility I had, but I organized all my meetings and my appointments around this weekly event. And I made almost every one. There's a core group of about 12 of us, and you're all invited. The temple sends out the weekly memo of what's happening, so please feel free to join. But we could discuss just about everything except politics was off the table. Anything else, we talked about what new movies were out, what books we read, recipes, dealing with our children, dealing with our parents. You name it, we shared. My father, Arthur, just turned 96 2 days ago. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I couldn't see him. He was in isolation. So I started writing poetry and sending it to him. And I started to share my poetry with the Zoom and Zen group, and they loved it. It was a hit. And it further enhanced my experience. A few months ago, for the first time, our group met in person in the parking lot at B'nai Tikva. It was like seeing relatives that we hadn't seen in a long, long time. CBT, for our modest size, has so much to offer for just about every age group and every interest. Our members truly care about each other. Our leadership listens. Rabbi Shabon and Karen Smith are off the charts with their compassion, integrity, depth of character, love for our world, and especially love for each and every one of us at B'nai Tikva. I love B'nai Tikva, and this is what CBT means to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. So beautiful. This is the second of many times we will open the Ark for Avinu Malkeinu. Take a glance at our beautiful Torahs. Please rise.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu, ethaperinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Erev me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kale kol tzar,
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki en banu masim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, ve'oshienu. Please be seated. Earlier this summer, I read a blog post from a pastor whose writing I sometimes follow, Jenny Smith. And it started like this. I'm hearing this refrain from every corner of my pastor world. Today felt like a day to name it out loud. Pastors are tired on a soul level. It's tempting to think we can solve it with a few days off, but we know we can't. This is bigger than individuals. This is systemic. She then goes on to talk about how we all collectively just ran an energetic and spiritual marathon, which is something that only a tiny slice of humanity normally does. But we all ran around like crazy little rabbits for a year and a half, scurrying to become virtual streaming experts and clergy who suddenly minister from laptop screens. We held the grief of our communities from afar. We offered final confessions to the dying via FaceTime. We held up the torch of optimism while people around us panicked about the world giving up on organized religion during a pandemic. We questioned our jobs. We took days off here and there just to keep ourselves from coming completely and totally undone. By this summer, we had all just begun to think that the marathon was over. We did it! We're transitioning back. And then God reached down and tapped us on the shoulder and said, just kidding. Time to lace up your shoes and get ready for your next marathon to begin with no recovery time in between. Are you kidding? So yes, pastors and rabbis and cantors and teachers and parents and doctors and every single human on the planet who is holding up other people right now, we are exhausted. We have forgotten how to live our best lives and how to take care of ourselves. And the prospect of running another marathon sounds downright impossible. Luckily for us in the Jewish world, we have an answer to this problem woven into the Torah about what to do when we have given and created and produced and taken for long enough. It's called the shemitah year. And as it happens, 5782, which begins tonight, is a shemitah year. The first reference to shemitah is in the book of Exodus. For 6 years you are to sow your land and to gather in its produce, the Torah says. But in the 7th, you are to let it rest, tishmetena, and lie fallow. Let the needy among your people eat of it, and what remains, let the wild beasts eat. You shall do the same with your vineyards and your olive groves. In the shemitah year, debts are to be forgiven, agricultural lands to lie fallow, private land holdings to become open to the public, and staples such as food storage and perennial harvests to be freely redistributed and accessible to all. The Torah recognized humanity's innate drive to create and consume at all costs, and it sought to protect the land of Israel from our greed and our inability to stop. So a divine order to cease and desist was written into law every 7 years. The land was to be given a well-deserved year off. But here's the question. Just as we rest on Shabbat because God rested on the 7th day, should we not consider what it would look like to observe a shemitah year for ourselves if the land deserves one too? If God rests and the land rests, who in the world are we to say that our jobs are too important for us to rest as well? When did it become acceptable that napping is embarrassing, or that taking a break or even quitting means you're weak? In Catherine May's incredibly beautiful book, Wintering, she describes how human beings imitate the animal world in cycles of our own need to lie fallow. But the difference is that unlike animals, we fight it when our time to slow down arrives. Plants and animals don't fight the winter, she says. They don't need to pretend it's not happening and attempt to carry on living the same lives they lived in the summer. They perform extraordinary acts of metamorphosis to get them through. Winter is not the death of the life cycle, but its crucible. It's a time for reflection and recuperation, for slow replenishment, for putting your house in order, doing those deeply unfashionable things, slowing down, letting your spare time expand, getting enough sleep, resting, is a radical act now, but it is essential. If you could take the time to listen to your beleaguered soul, what would you hear it whisper to you in the quiet hours of the night? What would it ask of you? Higid lecha adam matov, uma Hashem doresh mimcha, the prophet Micah says, "It has been told to you, O humans, what is good and what God requests of you, only to do justice and love goodness and walk modestly with God." Nowhere does Micah add, "and work yourselves to the bone because capitalism is the best." Capitalism and consumerism feed off of our utter inability to listen to our need to rest. These forces celebrate when we ignore our profound need to mirror the natural world and shut down for a while. Ma Hashem doresh mimcha, you know what God requests of you, to care for yourself so that you can continue to care for the world. For each of us to personally stop taking so that we can have a communal experience of receiving. On a recent episode of author Glennon Doyle's podcast, We Can Do Hard Things, she devoted the hour to the topic of quitting. Quitting as self-care and as an act of self-love and resistance, she says. In the light of Simone Biles' graceful and extraordinarily brave and very public quitting during the Olympics, she focused in particular on women quitting. The world loses its damn mind when a woman decides to abandon the world's expectations of herself instead of abandoning herself, Glennon says. When a woman decides to disappoint the entire world before she decides to disappoint herself. When a woman values her experience of herself above our experience of her. When a woman says, I am more than what you can get from me. I choose me. The world loses its mind when she dares to insist upon and protect her own humanity. When we put our spiritual and physical and mental health above the external expectations of us, we choose ourselves. After all, who else is going to choose for us? If Simone Biles can choose herself with the entire world watching, can we not each take a few minutes during the high holiday season to consider how we want to choose ourselves too? To be curious about what we could and should stop doing in order to be healthy and whole? But here's the rub. Choosing yourself might require you to quit something else in return. We all have negative associations with the word quit, as in to give up, to lack the tenacity to get the job done. Don't be a quitter. Doesn't get much more American than that. But that punitive understanding of the word quit is actually quite new, only since the 18th century. The Latin root of the word quit is to be set free, and also calm or resting. The French root is similar, to be clear, entire, and at liberty. Imagine how differently we would feel about quitting something unhealthy, about giving ourselves a break, if we associated it with freedom instead of failure. Imagine how our jobs and communities would change if we didn't just ask this of ourselves, but saw it as our communal responsibility to see taking a break as a necessary part of the collective whole. How do we communally release and let go and begin to repair from a terrible year that has been so taxing? Not just to each of us individually, but as an interconnected whole. I heard recently of one synagogue on the East Coast that's considering giving their entire staff, the entire staff, a 4-day week throughout the entire shemitah year. Or they're considering offering a month off to every employee at the synagogue, regardless of their job. They're changing how they look at and use time to help the entire staff and community recharge and not burn out. What a radical and also rather simple idea. Let's put the health of each and every human being first. Imagine a world where that was every organization's top priority. Where Micah's words were an imperative not meant just for individuals, but for systems as well. But how do we get there? Jenny Smith, that pastor I like, says, we start with our expectations of ourselves in this second marathon. Maybe this time, instead of racing to win the marathon, we walk it side by side. We change the culture of how we live by resting when it's time to rest, saying yes to a new idea when it glistens with possibility, saying no when something feels too heavy, questioning the speed at which we live and move, loving our people with beautiful boundaries in place, taking a nap, breathing deeply of God's grace and love and restoration. In this shemitah year, may we notice our desire to hold on tight to our attachment to things, to people, to schedules, to success, to ideas of who we are supposed to be. As Rabbi Dorothy Richmond writes, a shemitah practice reminds us to soften our hearts and open our hands, and to recognize that power and control reside in their divine source. And we are entrusted, all of us, to use ourselves towards sacred ends. Only when we have allowed ourselves to surrender, to step into solitude and contemplation, and to reconsider how we live, can we emerge from our period of spiritual hibernation, find our wings again, and take to the sky. Amen. Thank you, Irene. You should listen always very carefully to what Irene plays after I speak. She just makes it up based on what my words are. And she doesn't know what I'm going to talk about ever. Pay careful attention each time. Aleinu is on page 82. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים בפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 90. We don't have a list specific to holidays, except, of course, for Yizkor. So if you have someone that you are in mourning for or saying Kaddish, if you have a yard site this Shabbat, I invite you to say their name out loud or at home to call them out in your homes. If you are in mourning or observing a yard site, I invite you to rise, or if it is your custom, please do so. We're on page 90. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehe shemei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lolmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu le'ela ule'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shalama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. Judith Baral has a few holiday-related announcements.
Shana Tova, everybody. My name is Judith, and I'm your board representative tonight. Thank you, Rabbi Sheban, Lisa, Lital, Irene, for a magnificent service. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., we have a top service in the amphitheater. It is free, and it is open to the community. It is not too late to join. Look for the email that you received this morning for registration announcements. At 10 a.m., we will be holding Rosh Hashanah services via live stream. Junior congregation will be held at the Radke Martinez Regional Shoreline at 2 p.m. This is designed for children in K through 5th grade. Parents are welcome to stay with their children for this 1-hour service. Please bring a picnic blanket or lawn chairs. And at 3 p.m., we will meet in the same park, Radke Martinez Regional Shoreline Park, for Tashlik. This year, we will have a special treat where a beloved choir will sing. Oh, great. This is a great opportunity for us to start this new year enjoying our incredible choir and seeing each other in person. And I hope that you will all join us. This year, we are dedicating our High Holiday Drive to responding to the urgent humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. Please visit our website or see the link in High Holiday related email in order to help with this much needed drive. If you have yet to pick up your Matzorim, your High Holiday prayer books, in your High Holiday bag, please contact the office on Wednesday to schedule pickup. If for any reason that you cannot pick up your bag or Matzorim, we are happy to deliver them to you. And next Friday, September 10th, is our Kabbalat Shabbat at 5 p.m. with special guest speaker Nancy Lewis, who is a survivor of the 9/11 and will speak about gratitude. I wish all of you Shana Tova, a year of health and connectedness and beauty and peace for all. Shana Tova.
Sorry. So, this season is hard. Forgiveness is hard. It's been a really hard year. It's hard to figure ourselves. It's hard to forgive the people we love, the people we hurt, the people that hurt us. It's hard to be a human being, turns out. The older I get, the more I understand that. But this is Trish Melton's We Can Do Hard Things.
Walked through fire, I came out the other side. I chased desire, I made sure I got what's mine. And I continue to believe that I'm the one for me, and because I'm mine, I walk the line. 'Cause we're adventurers and heartbreaks our map, a final destination we lack. We've stopped asking directions to places they've never been, and to be loved we need to be known. We'll finally find our way back home, and through the joy and pain that our lives bring, we can do hard things.
I hit rock bottom, it felt like a brand new start. I'm not the problem, sometimes things fall apart. And I continue to believe the best people are free. And it took some time, but I'm finally fine. 'Cause we're adventurers and heartbreaks hard things.
Yeah, we can do hard things.
Yeah, we can do hard things.
Good night, everyone. Shana Tova. See you in the morning.
Tova.